You're listening to The Pop by Dr. Shané, the Pursuit of Peace podcast, where I'm your host, Dr. Shané Petit of SP Consulting Group, where our mission is to bring your vision to life. Join us as we have various discussions that focus on purpose, vision, strategy, and transformation on this pursuit of peace in our daily lives. Hey, it is Dr. Shané. Guess what? We are back again. This is, it's the second. We're in the last part of March. Oh my goodness. Time flies by. Not necessarily when you're having fun, but it flies by regardless. You can't even say that anymore. But yes, it does fly when you're having fun and when you're super busy. But either way, we're going to be talking about self-love today. And as a part of my self-love, while I'm recording this, I'm sipping on some chamomile tea because my throat is a little scratchy. I've been talking to clients, coaching, treatment, all of that. But either way, we're going to push ahead, get things going for you guys. And if I pause, it's because I'm drinking tea. This is all real life. This isn't all things edited for you guys to think that I'm in this bubble of nothing ever happens to me. I told you, if you don't know, listen to the past episodes. But self-love. What does self-love have to do with anything? What does it have to do with your work? What does it have to do with confidence? That's what we're going to be talking about today, because I didn't realize that there was a lot in common when it pertains to a lack or missing self-love and confidence and how it shows up in the workplace. And again, when we are talking about pursuing peace, being on that pursuit to find balance in our work and at home, in our personal lives, again, times have changed. We are still the same person that will sit behind the Zoom and then go over into the kitchen, get something to eat, and come back. You're still that person. And this is something that I've been wanting to stress to people. This is no longer about separating work life from your personal life, because you are not changing. You are the same person in the middle. And that's what I mean by not changing. We want you to change. We want you to be transformed, delivered, and set free. All of the above. But what we are talking about is self-love. So let's get some basics out there before we talk about how they connect. Self-love, what is it? In general, you may be thinking, okay, yeah, I love myself. Of course I do. Or some people may think, well, when I have tried to do things to purposely love on myself, I was considered selfish. Because, that's what a lot of people think. Self-love is synonymous with selfish. And that's not necessarily the case. So what is self-love? It means you're having a high regard for yourself and your well-being and your happiness. It means that you take care of your own needs and you don't necessarily sacrifice it just because you want to please someone else. I've talked to many of people who didn't realize they were living their life based on what they thought someone else was going to feel about what they did, or what they said, how they moved, how they lived. That was too much attention loving outwardly. Let's not outsource love, okay? Let's sometimes just sit and be with ourselves. It can mean something different to each person, granted, yes. But it's because we all have a bunch of different ways to take care of ourselves, right? When we talk about biblically speaking, even, what does it say about love? Well, I heard that, somebody named Matthew said that Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself, which ultimately means that you have to have self-love. You have to love yourself as a prerequisite to loving anybody else. And you don't have to have anything to offer unless you take care of yourself first. Okay? And again, it is implied It is implied that this is selfish, but that is not the case. Like again, going back to the bedrock, God says, abide in my love, right? And some of you guys know these scriptures. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whosoever believes in him shouldn't perish but have eternal life. You shall not take vengeance or bear grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. That's what he said. Okay. So mic drop on that. Self-love is considered actually one of the purest and clearest forms of being able to love others. So you have to start with you. Start with you, right? You know, there was someone that had written up in the Huffington Post, the Huff Post, I should say. And it was a contributor, Rabbi Alan Lurie. And basically, he was just saying when it's all said and done, true love is your commitment to objectively know yourself as you are. Fully experience life as it comes to you and to honor the potential that you have to continue to grow. Right? But if you're dealing with false self-love, it's basically that desperate need to feel that you are better and that you're more deserving than others, you know? So you're doing that to feel special and doing it so that you don't feel abandoned. That's not what we're talking about here. We're doing the part where you are completely honoring who you are as a person. And some of you, you know, truth be told, you need to spend some time with yourself in order to love yourself. I have never heard of anybody falling in love with someone that they didn't spend any time with. Even distant, intimate partnerships, they still are communicating with one another. How are you communicating with yourself? And what does it have to do with anything, right? What does it have to do with work? What does it have to do with your self-confidence? Well, when you're taking care of yourself on purpose, you are actually leading yourself to a place of confidence. Being able to have high self-esteem comes from having self-love. You can't have self-esteem. You can't esteem yourself or feel yourself of any greatness if you don't have self-love. Like that's just a fact. I mean, you have to know both your strengths and your weaknesses in order for you to even be able to talk about, okay, how am I going to improve on my weaknesses? How am I going to use my strengths? For some people, depending on what's going on, I have had clients or patients that I've worked with where I've said, hey, how about we just look at what you do well? You know, there may be things going on in your life and you're like, I just don't feel that I'm grounded, or I don't feel like there is more purpose to my life. I need that. I want that. But you have to, first of all, see what the baseline is. What's your baseline? What are the greater spaces in your world that can help you feel more confident, feel more open in any environment? Sometimes if you're self-conscious, and I say that in a way of you feel that there's things wrong, everybody sees that it's wrong, that, you know, you're not loving yourself, it makes it hard for you to feel comfortable in any environment, right? But when you have greater confidence, that means you end up having highest self-esteem. And that self-esteem ends up demonstrating the more extraordinary abilities that you have in succeeding in any activity. You're more passionate about, achieving your goals, taking care of yourself, and you're less determined in any area that doesn't help you be a better person. And a lot of times people that have self-love, a healthy level of self-awareness, self-efficacy, that's another one, self-efficacy, you end up realizing that anything that you would have considered as a failure or something you didn't do quite well, that it's relative. It's like there's other reasons and pieces that have gone into this end result. So what I'm going to do is, instead of allowing yourself to mull over and just be in that dark space of, oh, I failed, and beating yourself up with negative self-talk, you're going to actually say, you know what, let me focus on what I can do, the things that I have strengths in the areas of strength. You are going to say, you know what, there's other things. I have an ability to actually forget the things that didn't go well by going on a new venture. You know, sometimes it's like, get out of that rut, you know, because low self-esteem can reduce participating in things, not being enthusiastic about much. And ultimately, these things begin to work against you to the point where you're not even motivated. If you once were, you become less and less motivated, and you only recognize what you may not be strong in, even though your strengths are there and technically are being neglected. They're just sitting there. It's like having a gift from Christmas, for example, if you celebrate Christmas, or just getting a gift in general and never opening it because you're too stuck in your mind thinking of all the things that could go wrong. If I opened it, what if it's not something I like? If I don't deserve this, why me? There's so many people out there starving in the world. Yes, that is the case. That is the case. But what does that have to do with the gift that is in you? The gift that is right there. You end up becoming more vulnerable and less likely to just step out on faith and do something. If you have low self-esteem, you give up more quickly. Like, you are less likely to stick with something, especially if you run into situations that are natural to run into in life that can be opposite of what you think works. That happens all the time. Like, sometimes I have all intention to leave out of the house at a certain time to go pick up my son from daycare. And I'm sitting up here like I had all the intentions in the world to be early today to pick him up. And it didn't happen, and then it's like you go down the rabbit hole of all the other things that could happen. Oh, I'm a horrible parent. Oh, he's going to grow up thinking I neglected him. Like that's, that's a lot of the negative self-talk. Or even, I've talked to you guys sometimes about cognitive distortions. You're literally sitting up here in a place where you're just feeding yourself because you don't know your worth. You're so focused on the negative that when it comes time to, in like the workplace, you can end up feeling inadequate and unable to pursue, whether it's a project, whether it's a promotion. But how about we reset? When you are purposely practicing self-love, you're also purposely practicing, guess what? Self-care. Self-care, people. Self-care should always be implemented. Especially when we overwork ourselves, like our bodies, our minds, our spirits get tired. Sometimes you may think, oh, I've rested. Okay, why am I still tired? Sometimes it's not about physical, like something physically is going wrong. Like you're not okay physically. You may go to the doctor and it's like, no, we don't see anything. Vitals are clear. You're good. You're literally beating yourself up so much, even on a spiritual level, that it's just feeding this ongoing cycle of self-harm. I mean, think about life stressors. Think about the fact that different situations happen hormonally. Like, there's just other issues in life that can quickly wipe you literally out, which means then you're performing not at your top, not at your potential. That's not happening. It would almost be insane to think that you are performing at optimal level when you aren't taking care of yourself, when you're not loving yourself, when you are diminishing any confidence that you may have naturally had if you had just paid attention to the positive, paid attention to what strengths you have, and not focusing on the negative. So what are we going to do? Right? What are we going to do about it now? Well, one of the things that you can do is, as some people say, show me the receipts. Show me the data. What are we going to do? Well, one thing that you can do is actually consider, if you haven't already, looking at your personal growth area at 360 degrees. Like, there's actual assessments, like a 360 degree assessment, right? That you can take to just hear what people are saying about you, hear outside of your own head, and look at personal growth from every element of your life. Like, if you want to know, like, where to start, how do I know I'm touching bases on everything in my life? You can look up Whole Health, the Circle of Health. It's a diagram that you can use. There's other diagrams out there, but this one I love to reference, and it's Whole Health, and you just can look up the Circle of Health. It's a diagram that shows you just every area that contributes to you, with you in the middle, and you being mindfully aware of who you are. Work on your strengths, enhance them. Look for projects that are, in line with your strengths. How about learning from your mistakes? There is nothing more crazy than doing the same thing over and over again, as you guys know, and expecting a different result. You got to work on these things. If you are literally beating yourself up, like some people are, like there was some major presentation at work and you just completely bombed it. Okay. Now it's time for you to take some time to look at that thing and see if there's something you can do different and better next time. Learn new tools for managing your emotions and thoughts in order for you to reduce how it impacts your life. That's what you call emotional intelligence. Jump on that, dig into that, and consider different points of view. Not everybody thinks the same, and common sense isn't common to everybody. Sorry. No, it's relative. Consider different points of view and learn to love yourself and take care of yourself. You are causing harm to yourself when you purposely ignore your individual care needs. You need mental health treatment, get mental health treatment. You need physical health treatment. You sick, you got the flu, you got a cold, you have allergies, whatever it is, you take care of yourself. You don't just sit there and wallow in your illness. You don't just sit there and wallow in deficits that you have acknowledged to be deficits and not try to build from them to be a better person. Appreciate the qualities that you have, good, bad, and indifferent. And again, if it really bothers you that much, do something to improve it. Improve your whole life if you want to. Do what you need to do. Increase your ability to have a sense of self-efficacy. Like I said, self-efficacy. Look that up. I'm all about, folks really, really looking up stuff to learn it for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Look it up. Increase your self-efficacy. And the last one I'm going to mention before I end with you guys is, enhance the transversal skills. What's that? Look it up. Enhance your transversal skills, such as effective communication and assertiveness. Assertiveness doesn't mean that you are aggressive. It is not the same. And it should not be displayed the same way. You shouldn't be rah-rah and all of that and then say, I was just being assertive. No, that is aggressive. That can be deemed aggressive. So take some time to realize that self-love and self-care are like intertwined in a marriage. And your ability to have self-esteem and self-efficacy and be bold in who you are comes from the place of loving yourself first. Some of you have literally continued to outsource your love to other folks and other things, other situations, and you're not paying attention to when you need time to sit still, when you need time to grow in an area. You know, don't get stuck in the same space just trying to hold a certain territory when you were supposed to have moved on and elevated a long time ago. You're going to miss your blessing. Pay attention to who you are, where you're going, and what your purpose is, so that ultimately you can step forward in confidence. Confidence in knowing this is what I'm supposed to be doing in my life in this moment, right? Start with self-love. Spend some time alone with yourself. If you get irritated with the quiet and you need to have some background noise, that lets you know you need to sit there just a little bit longer, right? So let's do that. Let's be better people by first loving ourselves, wanting better for ourselves, not letting people treat us any sort of way. Stand up, recognize who you are and whose you are, right? We are children of God. We are royalty. Believe that. If you didn't know, now you know, and you can look it up. All right? I love y'all. Y'all just let me go on and vent and talk and do all kinds of stuff on this thing. I just appreciate y'all listening. All right. We'll be in touch again in a couple of weeks. So tune back in to the Pop Podcast, which is where we try to pursue peace in every space, every day. Okay? Again, I love you guys. Feel free to listen to the previous messages. And if you want to be in touch with me, you want to work on some things, you need a coach, you need a therapist, I'm your girl. So www.officialspconsultinggroup.com is how you will find my website and how you can get connected. Go to the Get Connected page and hit me up. All right? Again, that's www.officialspconsultinggroup.com, and I'll be waiting to hear from you. All right? Take care. Bye-bye.